The morning sun rose over New Haven, painting the sky orange and pink. Daewon Kim stood at his office window, watching the mining crews head toward the mountains. 3 months. 3 long months since they had heard anything from the Galactic Coalition. The solar storms had cut off all their communications, leaving 847 human colonists alone on this frontier planet. Daewon was 34 years old and had been a military logistics officer before coming to Kepler 442b. Now he ran this small town, and the silence from the outside galaxy worried him more each day. He told himself the storms would pass. They always did. But something felt wrong. Across town, Hana Choi opened the door to her animal rehabilitation center. She was 28 and loved working with the Earth animals they had brought to help terraform the planet. Birds sang in their cages. Small mammals rustled in their enclosures. But one animal was missing, Captain, Hana called out. The honey badger should have been in his habitat. She walked through the facility, checking every corner. Captain had been acting strange for weeks now. He would disappear for days, then return exhausted and covered in dirt. Yesterday, she had treated cuts on his thick hide. The wounds bothered her. They did not match any animal she knew on this planet. Hana grabbed her tracking device. Every animal in her care had a small chip. She turned on the scanner and frowned. Captain was already 5 kilometers away, heading toward the mountains. Again. At the communications building, Mira Shin sat surrounded by broken equipment. She was only 19, but was the best tech they had. For 3 months, she had been trying to fix the relay station. The solar storms had fried half the circuits. Come on, Mira whispered, reconnecting another wire. The screen flickered, static, more static. Then for just a moment, a voice broke through, warning all frontier colonies, Vrak swarm, attacks, evacuate immediately. The signal died. Mira stared at the screen, her hands shaking. She ran. 10 minutes later, she burst into Daewon's office. Sir, I got a signal. Just a fragment, but she caught her breath. Something called the Vrak swarm is attacking colonies. They said to evacuate. Daewon felt his stomach drop. How old was the message? I don't know. Could be days. Could be weeks. Can you send a message back? Mira shook her head. Not yet. I need more time. Daewon stood up. His military training kicked in. Get Byung-ho Park. Tell him to come to the town hall. We need to talk. Within an hour, the town's leaders gathered. Byung-ho Park, the 52-year-old mining chief, listened carefully as Daewon explained the warning. Do we even know what this Vrak swarm is? Byung-ho asked. No, Daewon admitted. But if the coalition sent evacuation orders, it must be serious. We can't evacuate, Mira said quietly. We don't have ships. The transport isn't due for another month. Silence filled the room. They all knew she was right. Hana arrived late to the meeting, out of breath. Sorry, I was tracking Captain. He's been going to the mountains every night. I don't understand why. The honey badger? Daewon asked. Why does that matter right now? Because, Hana said, pulling up images on her tablet. Look at these wounds. I've been treating him for weeks. These aren't from any animal on Kepler 442b. They're too clean, too precise, like cuts from tools or weapons. Everyone leaned in to look at the pictures. The cuts were strange indeed. Maybe he's getting into the mining equipment, Byung-ho suggested. My crews are careful, Byung-ho said, and he's going the wrong direction. Toward the eastern mountains, not our mines. Mira looked up from her tablet. That's weird. I've been detecting strange energy signatures from that area. I thought it was interference from the solar storms. Daewon felt a chill run down his spine. What kind of energy? High-powered. Like nothing we use here. I assumed it was natural. The room went quiet again. They all understood what they were thinking but did not want to say out loud. We should tell the town, Hana said. Daewon nodded slowly. Call a meeting for tonight. Everyone needs to know. That evening, the town hall overflowed with worried colonists. Daewon stood at the front and told them everything. The fragmentary warning. The Vrak swarm. The fact they could not evacuate. Fear rippled through the crowd. What can we do? Someone shouted. We prepare, Daewon said, trying to sound confident. We don't even know if this threat is real or coming here. But we should be ready, Byung-ho stood up. The mining equipment. We could modify the lasers. Turn the explosive charges into something defensive. It's not much, but it's something. People began talking at once. Some were scared. Some were angry. Others wanted to fight. Day one let them talk. These were miners and farmers, not soldiers. But they were human, and humans did not give up easily. After the meeting, Hana walked back to her facility. She hoped Captain would be there. He was not. She checked the tracker again. Still in the mountains. Still moving. What are you doing out there? She whispered to herself. Late that night, Captain finally came home. He limped through the door Hana had left open. New wounds covered his body. Deeper this time. She rushed to him with her medical supplies. You crazy animal, she said softly, cleaning the cuts. What are you fighting? Captain looked at her with his small dark eyes. If Hana did not know better, she would say he looked worried. Honey badgers were fearless creatures, afraid of nothing. But something in those mountains had hurt him. Something dangerous. She bandaged the worst wounds and gave him food and water. Captain ate quickly, then moved toward the door again. Oh no, Hana said, blocking his path. You're staying here tonight. You need to rest. But Captain pushed past her with surprising strength. He looked back once, made a strange sound, then disappeared into the night. Hana stood in the doorway, watching him go. A terrible feeling settled in her chest. Captain was not just wandering. He was not just curious. He was going to war. And if a fearless honey badger thought something was worth fighting, then New Haven was in more danger than anyone realized. The explosions shocked the Vraks. Their front lines collapsed as mining charges tore through their ranks. Hundreds died in the first 30 seconds. The survivors stumbled forward, confused and disorganized. The mining lasers fired again and again. Each beam found a target. Vraks warriors fell, their armor no protection against tools designed to cut solid rock. They're breaking formation, Mira called out, watching the screens. The eastern group is trying to flank us. Day one had expected this. The Vraks' battle plans had shown exactly what they would do when their main assault failed. Trigger the eastern mines, then have teams 3 and 4 hit them from behind. More explosions lit the dawn. The flanking Vraks ran straight into another trap. Human defenders appeared behind them, using captured Vraks weapons and their own mining tools. The aliens found themselves caught between two forces. On the western front, Byung-ho commanded his miners. They had fought rock for decades. Fighting aliens was not so different. You found the weak points, you applied force, you did not stop until the job was done. Hold the line, Byung-ho shouted as Vraks warriors charged. The mining lasers cut them down. Those who got through met humans wielding tools as weapons. Pickaxes, cutting torches, heavy wrenches. Everything became a weapon when survival was at stake. The Vraks commander finally understood. These were not helpless civilians. These were humans who had prepared, who knew their plans, who fought with terrible efficiency. The commander clicked orders to its troops. Change tactics, focused assault, break through the southern position where the humans seemed weakest. 2,000 Vraks warriors regrouped and charged south. It was exactly what Daewon had predicted. The southern position was not weak. It was their trap. The Vraks ran into the most concentrated defensive position New Haven had. Every able fighter waited there. The best marksmen, the strongest fighters, and Captain. The honey badger watched the approaching Vraks with cold eyes. He had fought these creatures before, alone in their camp, outnumbered 1,000 to 1. Now he had allies. 800 humans who had learned from his example. Hana crouched beside Captain in the defensive trench. She held a Vraks energy weapon they had captured. Together, she said to the honey badger, we fight together. Captain made a sound that might have been agreement. Then he charged. The sight of the small earth animal attacking their warriors drove the Vraks into confused rage. They remembered this creature from their camp, the one who had sabotaged their equipment and killed their soldiers, the one their claws could not pierce. Captain hit the Vraks line like a furry missile. He went for joints and weak points, his teeth and claws finding every gap in their armor. Vraks warriors tried to stop him, but he was too fast, too savage, too absolutely fearless. And behind him came the humans. Hana led a team of 15 colonists. They had watched the drone footage of Captain's tactics. They had learned. They moved fast, used cover, attacked weak points. They fought like honey badgers. Small but unstoppable. The southern position erupted into chaos. Captain and his human pack, tore through the Vrax formation. Other humans fired from defensive positions, their weapons finding targets with deadly accuracy. From the command center, Daewon watched in amazement. The Vrax were retreating, not in an organized withdrawal, in panic. They had never faced enemies like this, enemies who fought with animal fury and human intelligence combined. "Press the advantage," Daewon ordered. "Don't let them regroup." Byung-ho's teams moved forward from the western position. They had modified mining vehicles into mobile weapons platforms. The heavy machines pushed through Vrax lines, crushing enemy equipment and creating paths for human fighters. On the eastern front, young Mira had left her communications post to join the fight. She was small and looked fragile, but she had grown up on frontier worlds. She knew how to survive. She moved through the battlefield, coordinating teams with her radio while firing a captured Vrax weapon. The battle raged for 3 hours. 3 hours of explosions, laser fire, and close combat. 3 hours of humans refusing to break, refusing to run, fighting with everything they had. Captain fought the entire time. He seemed to be everywhere at once, pulling down Vrax commanders, disrupting attack formations, creating openings for human fighters. His thick hide took dozens of hits, but nothing could stop him. Finally, the Vrax commander made a decision. Retreat. This was supposed to be an easy target, a helpless human town. Instead, it had become a massacre. More than half the Vrax force was dead or wounded. The surviving Vrax warriors pulled back, scrambling toward the mountains. Human fighters chased them to the edge of town, then stopped. They had defended their home. That was enough. As the last Vrax disappeared into the mountains, a cheer rose from New Haven. 800 voices celebrating survival, celebrating victory. Daewon left the command center and walked through the town. Everywhere he looked, he saw exhausted but triumphant faces. People hugged each other. Some cried. Some laughed. All of them had fought beyond what they thought possible. He found Hana at the southern position. She was sitting on the ground, Captain lying beside her. The honey badger was covered in wounds but alive. His dark eyes watched the mountains, alert for any returning threat. "Is he okay?" Daewon asked. "He's hurt, but he'll survive," Hana said. Her voice was thick with emotion. He led the charge. The colonists followed him. They said they couldn't let a small animal be braver than them. Daewon sat down beside them. "I was a military officer for 10 years. I saw trained soldiers, professional warriors, special forces." He looked at Captain. "I never saw anyone fight like that honey badger, or like our people today." Byung-ho joined them, limping slightly. "Casualties?" 23 dead, Daewon said quietly. 62 wounded. "It could have been so much worse." "It would have been worse," Byung-ho said. "Without the battle plans Captain brought us, without the warning, they would have caught us sleeping. All of us would be dead." Mira appeared, still carrying her radio. "Sir, I'm picking up signals. Multiple ships coming fast." Everyone tensed. "More Vrax?" "Wait," Mira said, adjusting her equipment. "These are coalition signatures. It's the fleet. They got our distress beacon." Daewon stood up slowly. "How long until they arrive?" 3 days, Mira said. "They're coming at full speed. 3 days." They had held out just long enough. Help was coming. Hana gently stroked Captain's head. The honey badger had finally closed his eyes, exhausted from battle. "You saved us," she whispered. "A whole town. 800 people alive because one small animal refused to give up." Daewon looked at the mountains where the Vrax had fled, then at the town behind him. Damaged but standing, bloodied but unbroken. "They thought we were weak," he said. "They thought humans would be easy prey. They had never met Captain. They had never seen what Earth creatures are capable of when protecting their pack." Byung-ho smiled grimly. "They know now. The whole Vrax swarm will know. You don't attack Earth colonies, because even our smallest animals will fight you, and the humans will learn from them." The sun climbed higher in the sky. New Haven had survived its darkest hour, and the galaxy was about to learn a new lesson about Earth and its fierce, unstoppable children, both human and animal. The town hall filled with people within the hour. Mothers held children. Elderly colonists stood beside young workers. Everyone knew this was life or death. Day One stood at the front with the Vrax battle plans displayed on a large screen. He had been a military officer once. Now he needed to be a general. Tomorrow at dawn, 5,000 Virax warriors will attack, he said. His voice was calm and steady. They expect to find helpless civilians. Instead, they will find us. Ready, prepared, armed with knowledge of exactly how they plan to fight. He pointed to the screen. Thanks to Captain, we have their complete battle strategy. We know their attack routes. We know their weapon ranges. We know their weaknesses. Murmurs ran through the crowd. Someone shouted, "The honey badger?" "That's impossible." Hana stood up. "I have drone footage." Captain infiltrated their camp alone and brought back this data device. He fought dozens of them and survived. She paused. "If one small Earth animal can face an army without fear, then so can we." The room went quiet. Then an old miner named Gil stood up. "I've been digging rocks for 30 years. If you tell me how to fight these things, I'll do it." Others started standing, young and old, men and women. 800 voices saying the same thing. "We will fight." Byung-ho took over, explaining his plan. "Our mining lasers can cut through rock. They'll cut through Vrax armor too. We have 75 laser units. I need teams to position them along the town perimeter. The explosive charges we use for mining," he continued, "we can turn them into mines. Place them on the routes the Vrax will use. We have enough explosives to create kill zones." Daewon pointed to the map. "The Vrax data shows they'll attack from 3 directions, north, east, and west. They think we'll panic and run south. Instead, we make the south our strongest position. When they push us, we don't break. We hold." Hana had been studying the drone footage of Captain's tactics. "The honey badger didn't fight like a soldier," she explained. "He fought smart. He used cover. He attacked weak points. He created chaos." She looked around the room. "We can do the same. Small teams, fast movements, hit them where they don't expect it." Daewon divided everyone into groups: fighters, engineers, medical, support. Even the children had jobs, running supplies and messages. The night became a blur of activity. Byung-ho's crews moved the massive mining lasers into defensive positions. The weapons were designed to cut rock, but they would work on Vrax armor just as well. Each laser needed a 3-person team to operate. Other teams dug trenches using excavation equipment. They worked through the night, creating defensive lines and firing positions. The ground of New Haven transformed into a fortress. The explosive charges were carefully placed along the predicted Vrax attack routes. Each mine was connected to a remote trigger. When the enemy came, they would walk into a deadly trap. Mira worked on communications. She could not reach the coalition, but she set up a network connecting all the defensive positions. She also managed to launch one final distress beacon. It would take weeks for help to arrive, but at least someone would know what happened here. Hana converted her animal facility into a medical station. She had training in emergency medicine. Other colonists with medical knowledge joined her. They prepared bandages, pain medicine, and surgical supplies. They all knew there would be wounded. As midnight passed, Daewon walked the defensive lines. People called out to him. Some were scared. Some were determined. He stopped to talk with each group, offering encouragement and checking their positions. At the eastern position, he found Captain. The honey badger sat on a rock watching the mountains. His wounds were bandaged, but he looked ready to fight. "You should rest," Daewon said quietly. "You've done enough." Captain looked at him with those dark, fearless eyes. Then he turned back to watch the mountains. He was not leaving. Not while his pack was in danger. Daewon sat down beside the honey badger. "We're going to fight like you did, smart, fierce, never giving up." He paused. "Thank you for giving us a chance." At 3 in the morning, Byung-ho reported that all positions were ready. 75 mining lasers, 300 explosive mines, 800 colonists armed and trained as best they could be in one night. It was not much against 5,000 professional warriors, but it was something. At 4 in the morning, Daewon gathered his command team one last time. Byung-ho, Hana, Mira, and a few others. "The Vrax think we're prey," Daewon said. "They think humans are weak because we build instead of conquer. Because we farm instead of hunt. Because we prefer peace over war. He looked at each of them. They're wrong. Humans survived ice ages and plagues. We crossed oceans and conquered space. We adapted to every challenge, and we never ever surrender when protecting our own. Hana added, Earth taught all its creatures to fight for survival. The honey badger learned to be fearless. Humans learned to be clever. Today we show the galaxy what that combination can do. Byung-ho checked his watch. 1 hour until dawn. They moved to their positions. Daewon went to the command center, a reinforced building with views of all 3 attack routes. Screens showed feeds from cameras placed around the perimeter. He could see his people waiting in their positions. The sky began to lighten. Dawn was coming. Mira sat at the communication station, her hands steady on the controls. All positions report ready. Remember, Daewon said into the radio that connected all positions, we fight smart. Use cover. Watch for the signal flares. Trust your training. Trust each other. He paused, then added, Earth gave us a gift tonight. A small animal who showed us how to be brave. Who reminded us that size doesn't matter. That fear doesn't matter. What matters is the will to fight. The refusal to give up. That's what makes us human. 800 voices responded over the radio. We stand, we fight, we survive. The sun broke over the mountains, and in the distance movement began. Thousands of shapes pouring down from the mountain passes. The Vrak swarm came like a dark wave, confident and unstoppable. They expected to find helpless prey. Instead, they would learn why you should never underestimate Earth. Never underestimate the creatures it created. And never ever underestimate humans who had learned from the most fearless animal their world had ever known. Here they come, Mira said quietly. Daewon watched the approaching army. His hand hovered over the button that would trigger the first wave of mines. Let them get close, he said. Wait for it, wait. The Vraks entered the kill zone. 5,000 strong, weapons ready, confident in their victory. Now, Daewon said. The ground exploded. Mining charges detonated in sequence, creating walls of fire and destruction. Vrak's warriors flew through the air. Their formations broke apart. Lasers, fire! Daewon commanded. 75 mining lasers opened up. Beams designed to cut through solid rock sliced through Vrak's armor like paper. The alien warriors had never faced mining equipment used as weapons. The battle for New Haven had begun. And the Vraks were learning a terrible lesson. When you threaten a human town, you face more than just humans. You face the legacy of Earth itself. The courage of its creatures, the determination of its children, and sometimes you face a honey badger. Hana found Daewon the next morning at the mining depot. He was talking with Byung-ho about defensive positions. She interrupted them, holding her tablet. I need a favor, she said. I want to use one of the survey drones to follow Captain. Daewon looked at her like she was crazy. We need those drones to scout the perimeter, in case of attack. Just for a few hours, Hana insisted. Please, I think Captain knows something. Those wounds, the energy signatures in the mountains, it all connects somehow. Byung-ho crossed his arms. You think a honey badger is scouting for us? I think he's found something, Hana said. And we need to know what it is. Daewon was quiet for a moment. Then he nodded. Fine. But if you find anything, you tell me immediately. 2 hours later, Hana sat in the control room with Mira. The young tech helped her operate the drone. On the screen, they watched Captain moving through the forest. He traveled fast and with purpose, following paths that seemed random but clearly were not. He's done this before, Hana said. Look how he knows exactly where to go. For 3 hours, they followed the honey badger deeper into the mountains. Then Captain stopped. He crouched low behind a rock. The drone hovered high above, its camera zooming in. What they saw made both women freeze. A massive camp spread across the mountain valley. Not human. Not like anything they had ever seen. Thousands of creatures moved between strange metal structures. They looked like insects but stood as tall as humans. Their bodies were covered in dark armor that gleamed in the sunlight. They carried weapons that crackled with energy. Get Daewon, Hana whispered. Right now. Mira was already running. Within minutes, Daewon and Byung-ho crowded into the control room. They watched the screen in horror as the drone showed them the scope of what was hidden in their mountains. There must be 5,000 of them, Byung-ho said quietly. Maybe more. The Vrak swarm, Daewon said. It has to be. On screen, Captain began to move. He did not run away. Instead, he crept closer to the camp. What is he doing? Hana asked, her heart pounding. They watched as Captain slipped into the camp. He was small enough to hide behind equipment and crawl under vehicles. The Vrax warriors walked past him, not noticing the earth animal. Captain reached a large machine that hummed with power. He looked around, then bit into a thick cable. Sparks flew. The machine shut down. Vrax nearby started making angry clicking sounds. "He's sabotaging them," Day1 said in disbelief. Captain did not stop. He moved to another machine and pulled out glowing power cells with his teeth. More Vrax noticed now. 3 warriors surrounded him. "Oh no," Hana breathed. The Vrax attacked with their clawed hands. They tried to stab Captain with sharp limbs, but the honey badger's thick hide protected him. The claws could not penetrate. Captain fought back with savage fury, biting and clawing. His teeth found weak points in the Vrax armor. 1 Vrax fell. Then another. The 3rd one grabbed a weapon, but Captain was too fast. He dodged the energy blast and disappeared into a pile of equipment. More Vrax came running. Dozens of them. The camp erupted into chaos. Captain led them on a chase through the equipment, causing more damage as he ran. He knocked over containers. He bit through more cables. He created confusion wherever he went. "This is impossible," Byung-ho whispered. "One animal is holding off an army." "Honey badgers are fearless," Hana said, tears in her eyes. "They never give up. Never surrender. No matter how big the enemy." They watched for another hour. Captain fought, sabotaged, and disrupted the Vrax camp over and over. When he finally escaped, he carried something in his mouth. The drone followed him as he ran back toward New Haven. Day1 turned to Mira. "Send that footage to my office." "Copy everything. We need to study it." "What about the camp?" Byung-ho asked. "Should we keep watching it?" "Yes, but from a safe distance. I don't want them detecting the drone." Captain arrived back at Hana's facility 3 hours later. He was bleeding from new wounds, but his eyes were bright and alert. He walked straight to Hana and dropped something at her feet. It was a small device covered in strange symbols. "Vrax technology, good boy," Hana said, her voice shaking. She picked up the device carefully. "You brought us intelligence," she called Day1 immediately. Within 20 minutes, Mira was examining the device in her workshop. "It's a data storage unit," Mira said, connecting it to her computer. "Encrypted but not too complex. Give me a few hours." Those few hours felt like years. Day1 paced his office. Byung-ho organized the miners into work crews preparing defenses. Hana stayed with Captain, treating his wounds while he slept. Finally, Mira burst into Day1's office. Her face was pale. "I cracked it," she said. "Sir, it's their battle plans, everything. Attack formations, weapon specifications, communication codes. And the attack date, when?" Day1 asked, though he already knew the answer would be bad. "Tomorrow. At dawn. They plan to wipe out New Haven completely." The room went silent. "Tomorrow. Less than 24 hours. Day1 stood up slowly. "Show me everything. Every detail in those files." They spread the data across multiple screens. Attack routes, weapon ranges, command structure, weak points in their formations. Captain had given them a complete picture of the enemy. "He bought us time," Day1 said quietly. "All those days of sabotage. He delayed their attack. Gave us time to prepare." Byung-ho studied the formation data. "They're overconfident. Look at this. They expect no resistance. They're planning a simple sweep attack, not a siege." "Because they don't think we know they're here," Mira added. "But we do know," Day1 said. A plan was forming in his mind. "And we have their complete battle strategy. They think they're attacking helpless civilians. Instead, they'll face prepared defenders who know exactly how they fight." He looked at both of them. "Call everyone. Every single person in New Haven. We have one night to turn miners into soldiers." "Can we really win?" Mira asked. She sounded young and scared. Day1 thought about Captain, a small animal who had fought thousands of alien warriors alone, who had never given up, who had brought them the intelligence they needed to survive. "If a honey badger can face an army without fear," he said, "then so can we. We're human. We don't surrender. We adapt, we fight, we survive." Byung-ho smiled grimly. "Then let's get to work. Dawn comes fast." As they left to organize the defense, none of them noticed Captain watching from the doorway. The honey badger's wounds were bandaged, but his eyes were alert. He had done his part. Now he would watch the humans do theirs, and if needed, he would fight beside them, because that was what Earth creatures did. They protected their pack. no matter the odds. 3 days later, the Coalition fleet arrived. 15 warships dropped from orbit, weapons charged and ready for battle. They expected to find ruins and bodies. Instead, they found New Haven standing, damaged but alive. 800 colonists waiting to greet them. Admiral Jin-Soo Lee stepped off the command shuttle and stared in disbelief. He was a decorated officer with 40 years of military experience. He had seen combat across the galaxy, but he had never seen anything like this. Daewon met him at the landing pad. "Admiral, welcome to New Haven." "You're alive," Jin-Soo said. It was not a question. More like he was trying to convince himself it was real. "We are," Daewon confirmed, all thanks to an unlikely hero. Jin-Soo's military escort spread out, scanning for threats. They found the Vrak's forward base in the mountains, destroyed, bodies and wrecked equipment scattered across kilometers. "What happened here?" Jin-Soo asked. "The Vrak swarm wiped out 6 other colonies in this sector. 5,000 warriors per attack. How did you survive?" "Let me show you," Daewon said. In the command center, Daewon presented his report. The fragmentary warning, the mysterious energy signatures, Captain's reconnaissance, the stolen battle plans, the preparation, the battle. Jin-Soo listened, his face growing more incredulous with every detail. "You're telling me a honey badger infiltrated the Vrak's camp? Alone?" "I have drone footage," Mira said, pulling up the video. The Admiral and his staff watched in stunned silence. Captain moving through the Vrak's camp, fighting dozens of warriors, stealing the data device, the sabotage, the escape. "This is impossible," one of the Coalition intelligence officers said. "No single organism could survive that environment. The Vraks would have torn it apart." "Honey badgers have the thickest hide relative to body size of any Earth mammal," Hannah explained. She had joined the briefing with Captain beside her. The honey badger sat quietly, his wounds healing. Their skin is so tough that bee stings, porcupine quills, and even some snake bites cannot penetrate it. Vrak's claws apparently could not either. The intelligence officers stared at the small animal. Captain stared back, unimpressed. "Show them the battle footage," Daewon said. More video played. The Vrak's attack. The human defense. Captain leading the countercharge. The colonists fighting with mining equipment and captured weapons. The enemy retreat. When the footage ended, the room was silent. "You held off 5,000 Virax warriors," Jin-Soo said slowly, "with mining equipment. And you were inspired by a honey badger." "Honey badgers are known for their fearlessness," Hannah said. "They fight animals 10 times their size. They never give up, never retreat." When our colonists saw Captain charging into battle without hesitation, they realized they could not be less brave than a 15-kilogram animal. Byung-ho added, "Captain bought us time with his sabotage. He brought us intelligence. He showed us how to fight smart instead of strong. He gave us everything we needed to survive." Jin-Soo looked at the honey badger with new respect. "I need to report this to Coalition Command. They will not believe it." "Send them the footage," Daewon suggested. "Let them see for themselves." The footage spread through the Coalition fleet within hours. By the next day, it had reached command. Within a week, every military officer in the galaxy had seen it. The honey badger who fought an army, the humans who learned from his example. The video became the most watched military recording in Coalition history. Billions of beings across hundreds of species saw Captain's fearless assault on the Vrak's camp. They saw the colonists of New Haven standing against impossible odds. Scientists arrived to study Captain. Xenobiologists wanted to understand how such a small creature could be so effective in combat. They measured his hide thickness. They analyzed his fighting techniques. They studied his behavior. "Remarkable," one scientist said. "The combination of physical durability, tactical intelligence, and complete absence of fear. It is like evolution designed the perfect small predator." "Earth designed many perfect predators," Hannah said proudly. "Humans are just one of them." The Coalition began the Earth Fauna Integration Program. They studied other Earth animals. Wolves for pack tactics, eagles for aerial surveillance, even domestic dogs for their loyalty and training potential. The galaxy suddenly understood that Earth's value was not just its humans. It was the entire ecosystem of fierce, adaptable creatures. News of New Haven's victory reached the Vrak swarm leadership. The aliens had thought humans were soft, weak, easy targets because they preferred building to fighting. They were wrong. The Vraks issued a galaxy-wide communication, a warning to all their forces. Humans were dangerous not because of their technology, but because they learned, they adapted, they turned anything into weapons. And they had fierce companions from their homeworld who fought with terrifying courage. The warning specifically mentioned honey badgers. Do not underestimate small Earth creatures. They may be the most dangerous of all. 6 months later, Coalition Command held a ceremony on New Haven. The entire town gathered. Fleet ships hung in orbit above. Cameras broadcast across the galaxy. Jinsu presented medals to the defenders. Every colonist who had fought received recognition. Daewon, Byung-ho, Hana, and Mira received special honors for their leadership, but the most important medal went to Captain. The honey badger stood on a platform, looking mildly annoyed by all the attention. Hana stood beside him, her hand gently on his back. Jinsu approached with a special collar. It was made of adaptive metal that would grow with Captain, embedded with a Medal of Honor. Captain, Jinsu said formally, for extraordinary valor in combat, for reconnaissance that saved 800 lives, for inspiring humans to fight beyond their limits, the Galactic Coalition awards you its highest honor. He placed the collar around Captain's neck. The honey badger tolerated it for exactly 3 seconds, then tried to remove it with his paw. The crowd laughed. Even Jinsu smiled. He does not care about medals, Hana said. He just wanted to protect his pack. That, Jinsu said, is what makes him a hero. Captain became famous across the galaxy. He traveled with Hana to military academies, teaching officers about courage and tactical thinking. Young soldiers learned to fight like honey badgers. Fearless, relentless, smart. New Haven was rebuilt and expanded. It became a symbol of human resilience, a reminder that size and numbers did not determine victory, that courage and intelligence could overcome any threat. Mira's distress beacon recording was preserved in the Coalition archives. Future generations would hear her young voice describing the battle, would hear about the honey badger who saved a town. The story would be told for centuries. One evening, years later, Daewon and Hana sat outside her facility. Captain was older now, but still strong. He played with the colony children, gentle despite his fierce reputation. Do you think he understands? Daewon asked. How important he is, how many lives he saved. Hana watched Captain tumble with a laughing child. I think he understands family, pack, protecting what matters. That is all he ever needed to know. Earth's greatest weapon, Daewon said quietly. Not our technology, not our numbers, but the spirit we share with all its creatures. The refusal to give up. The courage to face anything. The galaxy learned that lesson, Hana said. They thought we were weak. They thought our animals were just pets or curiosities. They learned that Earth does not create weak things. Everything from our world knows how to fight. How to survive. How to win. Captain looked up at them, then went back to playing. He had no interest in philosophy or legend. He was just a honey badger doing what honey badgers do. Living, fighting when necessary. Protecting his pack, it was enough. It had always been enough. Across the galaxy, alien species told the story. Some as warning, some as inspiration. All of them understood the same truth. Never underestimate Earth. Never underestimate its creatures. And never ever underestimate a honey badger. Because where Earth animals go, humans follow. And together, they are unstoppable.